Well, hey, good morning, Transit. Thank you guys so much for being here today, singing loud. Shout out to, where's the 8th grade girls group that won the game? Hey, congratulations. You guys did awesome. Y'all had to eat some crazy stuff, but I'm super proud of you. Hey, this is the absolute best place that you guys could be on a Sunday morning right here in Transit. So thank you so much for being here. My name's Heath. If we haven't had the chance to meet, I work for Inside Out, which is our high school ministry up at the Brownsbridge campus. So just about 20 minutes worth of here. But I'm so excited to be here with you guys today as we kick off a brand new series called our Be Rich series, all about give, serve, love. And so if you're new to our church, if you've never been here before, this whole series, this whole month, we're going to be talking about ways that you can impact other people, make other people's lives around you better. And I know this to be true because how many of you guys in here, raise your hand if you have a sibling of any type, a brother, sister, anything like that. Oh, okay, a lot of you guys. All right, now, very specific group of people I want to talk to for a second. How many of you are the oldest in your family? Raise your hand. Oldest crew, make some noise. Love to see that. Fun fact about me, I am also the oldest in my family. I have a younger brother. We're obviously grown now, but growing up, my brother and I mostly got along, but there were pockets in time, there were periods in time where we super did not. And I began to realize as I became an adult that the times that we didn't get along were the times in which I was not able to really get my way around him. Now, as the older sibling, all my older siblings in the room, you guys can vouch for me on this. Your parents are harder on you than they are on your younger siblings. Am I right? Yeah, I know it. Listen, I'm an older sibling. I know it to be true. They just are, right? Like you're older, you're wiser, you're stronger, you're better looking, you're smarter. Like we all know this to be true. As an older sibling, I know this is true. But in reality, my brother and I, we're like 2 years apart. So when we were in middle school, I was like an 8th grader. 8th graders, make some noise. What's up, 8th graders? My brother was a 6th grader. 6th grader, make some noise. I feel like that's the time in our relationship where things got the most heated. We were so competitive, but the difference was being 2 years older, I got a lot bigger than him. So when we would compete for stuff, I dominated him. I mean, like full disclosure, we're just being honest. We're all friends in this room. Like I asserted my dominance on my little brother and I was proud of it. It's like in everything that we did, we competed and I tried to beat him at everything. Leaving the grocery store, I wanted to beat him to shotgun, right? Like getting home, if we had a pizza, I was gonna eat more pizza than he did. Like if we had this really cool gaming system that I had growing up called a PlayStation. Yeah, I hear you guys cheering over here. There was no number. It was just the PlayStation. It was the one, the first one. And we would argue over who got to play that first and who got to be the person to do that. And so one time, things got really contentious because we were trying to both play on it and we didn't want to play against each other because it always led to a fight. And my mom did the thing that moms always do, right? They always stick up for the younger sibling. Like my mom's always like, Heath, let your brother sit up front. You always get it. Heath, let your brother have the last piece of pizza. You've had enough. Like Heath, let your brother play the PlayStation. He needs to get a turn, right? My mom always took up for him. So one day I was like, before he could get to mom, I was like, hey, you want to play? And I want to play. I was like, I'll play you for it. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, one game on Madden, the winner gets to play the PlayStation. The other has to, go outside or, do something else, right? And he was like, all right, let's go. So we played. Little did I realize he had started getting pretty good. And the game was like close. Usually I would just like destroy him, but we had a close game, right? Up into the end, in which in the last second, I pulled out a victory. And he took his controller and he threw it at me and hit me. And when I say it was on, I mean, it was the worst fist fight that we had ever got into as siblings. And it all stemmed from this whole fight, this whole drama and everything. It all stemmed from this one word that every single person in the room has probably picked up on the story. It all stemmed from our selfishness. Both of us wanted to get our way at the expense of the other person not getting his way, right? I wanted to play PlayStation, he didn't get to. I wanted to sit up front, he doesn't get to. I want the pizza, he doesn't get any. Like it was me wanting selfishness and getting mad if he got his way and him getting mad if I got my way. And if you're honest with yourself in the room today, Transit, all of us in the room can relate because we're all selfish and we can't seem to help it. We're all selfish and we can't seem to help it. I'm selfish, your siblings are selfish, the person sitting next to you is selfish. I mean, I know you're gonna have a tough time believing this, but your small group leaders sometimes, they might even could be selfish. Like it's, everybody in the room can be selfish. And we know this to be true. We know this to be true because let's play this out. Let's say after transit today, your family decides that they're gonna go have a delicious, healthy, nutritious lunch at, I don't know, let's say Chipotle. And you get to Chipotle and the line is a mile long, right? And you wait in line, you're hungry, you're thinking about what you're gonna get, and you finally get up to the front and somebody cuts in front of you, right? What do you do in that moment? Most of us are gonna say something like, hey, wait in line like the rest of us. Because they're being, push them, yeah. Let's hope it doesn't get physical. But in reality, we all know that, hey, you're not gonna cut in front of me, I've been waiting. And that person's like, well, I'm hungry, I wanna get in line as fast as possible. You aren't paying attention, I'm gonna jump in line. Both of us are being selfish, it's just playing out into different ways. We're all selfish. We all just struggle to admit it sometimes. We all want our way. We all want to be the one who gets our way at the expense of everybody else around us. Now, I know this to be true, and we're going to learn something a little bit about how we can combat this selfishness, how we can basically push back against it and begin to live our lives in hopefully a little bit of a different and more healthy way, so you don't have to come to fist fights with your siblings like I had to do. But to learn from this, we're going to read from a passage, the book of James in the Bible. Now, James was a younger brother himself, but James's older brother was a guy named Jesus. So for all of you younger siblings, if you think your parents, tell you to be more like your older sibling, imagine if your big brother was Jesus. Like that's who our word today is coming from. So James shows up on the scene and he writes this letter for us to teach us a little bit about selfishness. This is what he says in James chapter 3. He says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, for where you have jealousy, where you want what somebody else wants, and selfish ambition, where you want what you want, there you find disorder and every evil practice. He says, there you will find basically your life will get chaotic, it will get messy, there will be conflict, there's gonna be fighting, there's gonna be disagreements, and he even goes to say evil practice. Like if you allow selfishness to rule in your heart, to rule in your life, it actually leads to what James calls evil. Like the roots of evil are to beginning to think that you are better than everybody else and you deserve your way at the expense of everybody else. He talks about this and really his challenge is here is like, hey, if you're chasing selfish ambition, if you're putting yourself forward, if you want what you want all the time and you're not looking out for anybody else, he's like, hey, your life is gonna be really, really difficult. You're gonna experience a ton of disorder, a lot of chaos. Like you're gonna have friend groups, you're constantly gonna be changing. You're gonna lose friends because you're selfish. You're gonna struggle finding new friends because nobody wants to be friends with you because you only care about yourself and nobody else. That doesn't even mention like the fact that you could really begin to build up some really terrible things in your heart and your mind as you think about people because, well, they just don't like me or they have something against me. What James is telling us is like, hey, if you allow envy, jealousy, selfishness, these things to grow in your heart, they begin to play out in your lives in some really difficult and unhealthy ways. So what do? We need to combat this. We need to go to basically challenge this in a way that we don't let these things build up in our hearts. So this is what he says in the next verse to tell us how to do that. What we need is wisdom, and wisdom that comes from heaven. And this is Jesus' little brother saying this. He says, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving and considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Basically what he's telling us is like, hey, instead begin to look at the people around you, the people in your lives, your family, your friends, the people you go to school with, your small group here at Transit. Begin to look at the people around you in such a way that you have pure intentions in heart. Like, hey, like, I'm not saying be a doormat and let people walk all over you, but also like think about other people before you think about yourself. Be peace-loving. Don't be in conflict all the time. Don't be challenging people. You know, if somebody cuts in front of you in line at Chipotle earlier, don't push them, as somebody said. Like, right? We want to be peace-loving. We want to be somebody who's not stirring up or starting fight. We want to be people who are putting out drama. He says to be considerate, to think about other people before you think about yourself. To be submissive and full of mercy, like to allow other people the benefit of the doubt to say, hey, you wronged me, but I'm going to forgive you, give you a pass. I'm gonna look the other way. And he tells us to bear good fruit. And this is an expression he's kind of referring back to something Paul says in the book of Galatians, where he says the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there's no law. Like, hey, if you treat people in that such a way, you can pretty much do whatever you want because people are always going to love you and care for you and accept you. And your friends are going to be many. To be impartial and sincere is to basically not be divisive, to not like draw divisions between people, to be genuine and authentic and real and kind. These are the things he says, hey, if you don't want to be selfish, begin practicing things from this list. And what you'll find is that your life will begin to be better and the lives of everybody around you will begin to be better as well. Because one thing we know about selfishness is that selfish people, selfish acts, selfish decisions, selfish intentions are the worst. It's terrible to be around somebody who's just selfish all the time. They're all about themselves. They don't care about anybody else. But we also know this to be true, that life is better for everyone when no one is selfish. So if we begin to practice that in our own lives, it becomes contagious. And that in our home, people become a little less selfish. That in our friend group, people become a little less selfish. In our small group here in Transit, people will become a little less selfish. If you allow other people to talk first in small group, if you allow somebody else at your house to have the last piece of pizza, if you allow your brother or sister to grab shotgun even though you totally called it, you'll begin to see the people around you will begin to catch on and to begin to be less selfish. Now, you may be asking, how do you know this is true? And just because they put me up on stage with a microphone on my face and put the lights on me and everything doesn't mean that I have this all figured out. That even now in my life, I feel like this is a lesson that God is still teaching me and I'm still having to learn right now. And I know this to be true because how many of you in this room, how many of you guys like Oreos? Oreo cookies fans, raise your hands. All right, cool. Same, me too. It's my absolute favorite snack. I love it. I like to take them, dunk them in milk, wait until the Oreo gets nice and soggy, and then I eat the whole thing, one bite. That's how I love to eat Oreos. But here's the thing. Here's where the room may or may not agree totally on. Oreo cookies, they're great. Everyone can agree that Oreos are fantastic. My wife and I don't see it the same way. We both love Oreos, but I love double stuff Oreos specifically. Where are my double stuff fans? Double stuff, thank you. Double stuff, thank you. All right, how many of you like regular normal Oreos? Make some noise. All right, y'all are pretty split, 50-50. So I found this to be true. That life is better for everyone when no one is selfish. Because recently, I was headed home and my wife said, hey, swing by the grocery store and grab some stuff so we can cook dinner. So I swing by the grocery store and I grabbed some Oreos because I'm like, man, I would love to have some Oreos as a dessert later, so I'm gonna grab some Oreos while I'm at the store. And typically at my house, we keep, literally, this is how much me and my wife enjoy Oreos. We keep a pack of double stuffs for me and a pack of regular stuffs. I don't think that's what they're called, but a pack of regular Oreos for her. So I'm at the grocery store and I'm like, oh man, I need some Oreos. I'm gonna grab some. I go and grab the pack of double stuff. I pay and go home. Later that night, it's getting close to bedtime. I was like, oh man, I really want some dessert. I want a snack. I'm gonna go get something out of the kitchen. So I go in there and you can't eat Oreos discreetly. Like the packaging is so loud and obnoxious, like when you pull back the little sticky stuff. And so I open a pack of Oreos and it's like, and my wife goes, hey, what are you having? And I said, I grabbed some Oreos down at the grocery store later. She said, oh, did you get me some? Oh, yeah. See, the groan, that hurts my feelings. That's exactly what she did. I was like, oh, sorry, honey, I didn't. I just got double stuff. And she goes, oh, the kind you like, I know, okay, I know, it's bad. And in that moment, I learned two valuable lessons. Number one, life is better for everyone when no one is selfish. And number two, happy wife, happy life, right? And so the next day I came home with some regular Oreos because I had to make things good and right. Here's the idea. Here's what I want you to take away. Every person in the room, if you're tuned out, if you're thinking about lunch, because I've talked about Chipotle and Oreos, lock in with me real quick. The whole point of today is that selfishness is the worst, right? If you have somebody that only looks out for themselves, somebody that always takes the last slice of pizza, somebody that never lets you sit up front, somebody that cuts line, or it's only about themselves, that's the worst. Life is better when no one is selfish. So my challenge for you today is this. Don't be the worst. Instead, I want you to put others first. Don't be the worst. Instead, put others first. So this week, I want you to begin thinking about how you can do that. How can you, in your life, begin to practice putting others first in every way? How can you, at school, begin to say, hey, I'll let everybody else go before me, or in your household, hey, I'll save the the last bite for somebody else, or hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I get anybody else something to drink? What are some ways this week that you can put others first in your life? I'm gonna let you guys talk about that a little bit more when you go to small group. But first, if you will, bow your heads and pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much just for the reminder today from James that it's the worst to be selfish. And Lord, as somebody who recently had a very embarrassing moment of selfishness, I can attest that life is better for you and for everyone around you when you're unselfish. So God, this week for all of our transit students in the room, I pray that you would begin to put in their brain to think about other people before they think about themselves. To put their parents, their siblings, their friends, their small group, their classmates, their teammates, put the people in their lives ahead of themselves each and every day this week. And God, as we do that, we'll begin to experience a better life, a more full life, and hopefully a life that is a little bit less dramatic and a little bit less difficult along the way. So God, help us to put others first this week. Help us to not be selfish, and help us to bring you glory in all that we say and do. Pray all this in Jesus' name. Everybody said, amen. All right, guys. As you head to small group, I want you to discuss this question. What's more selfish, taking the last slice of pizza or always taking the front seat? Which is more selfish? Discuss in small group. We'll see you guys next week at Transit.